fuck. Konnichiwa, my dudes, my name is Jaku Jonesu and welcome to my channel. It's probably needless to say, but this winter 2021 anime season is absolutely stacked. We have Attack on Titan Season 4, Re:Zero Season 2, Horimiya, Quintessential Quintuplet Season 2, Wonder Egg Priority, Yudo Camp Season 2, to a much lesser extent, Promised Neverland Season 2. But one anime stands out from the rest to me, and that anime is Jujutsu Kaisen. If we break down Jujutsu Kaisen to its core, we have anime Harry Potter, where the main character is a himbo, and his teacher is also a himbo. And let me tell you, that is the fucking tits. Jujutsu Kaisen is a wacky and charming take on a pretty beaten down shonen formula. I'd go as far as to say as it breathes a new life into the genre. It kind of reminds me of the manga Chainsaw Man, which is also getting an anime adaptation by Studio Mappa. Holy shit, Studio Mappa is fucking killing it right now. They have Attack on Titan Season 4, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Chainsaw Man.
Oh, but what if they use CGI for all the devils in Chainsaw Man?
Please, for the love of God, just shut the fuck up about the CGI. Alright, back to Jujutsu Kaisen. I also love how Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't have traditionally, air quotes, kawaii girl characters, particularly Nobata Kugisaki, who's depicted as a bit of an oddball, but she is just absolutely charming, funny, and adorable. Yeah, she's not supposed to be depicted as the most attractive anime girl in the world, but you cannot tell me your heart didn't melt when you saw her dancing in the first ending theme. Not to mention Maki, who is an absolute badass who can catch a f***ing bullet in her bare hand. I'd say Miwa Kasumi probably falls under the kawaii, cute cinnamon roll character, but she's also a badass in her own right. Miwa's domain power is still one of the coolest ones I've seen in the show yet. The male characters are also pretty stellar, like Aoi Todo, who judges his opponents based off of what type of woman they like. Obviously, Yuji and Satoru are absolute himbos, and we f***ing love them for it. I just think in general, one of Jujutsu Kaisen's strongest point is its absolutely stellar characters. It absolutely knocks character comedy out of the park. I could go on and on for hours about each character and what I love about them, but that might have to be another video. Cause today, I want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen's deep connection with Japanese folklore and culture. There's a really good article on CBR.com that talks about Jujutsu Kaisen's connections with Japanese folklore, and I'll link that in the description below. I'm going to talk about things that are on the article, but I'm also going to be talking about some things that weren't included in the article, like some folklore elements. One of the smaller things that I thought was really cool was Jujutsu Kaisen's depiction of Japanese funerary practices. I think it was episode 2 or something when Yuji was picking out his grandfather's bones with chopsticks. Funerary practices are very important and sacred in Japanese culture, and seeing it depicted like this in anime is something you don't see very often. So I thought that was something that was pretty cool. Another thing that was included in the article was Jujutsu Kaisen's depiction of spiritual possession. In Western horror stories, when a person is possessed by a spirit, usually the goal is to exorcise that spirit and destroy it from the host or cast it from the host, whatnot. But sometimes in Eastern stories about spiritual possession, and especially in Japanese folklore, you'll see that the host tries to live on with the spirit or purify the spirit. Obviously, there's still exorcisms because half of the spirits in Jujutsu Kaisen get exorcised, but that's besides the point. Think of Naruto and the Nine-Tails Fox spirit, or Tanjiro traveling with his sister who got turned into a demon. You've definitely seen this before in other shows and anime, and it's just part of Japanese culture and just Eastern philosophy in general. The Sororoi Monogatari is a really good example of this from Japanese folklore. It's about a housewife from feudal times who suddenly starts being followed by the spirit of her own severed head. One night, this ghost of this woman's severed head appeared before this traveler who was going through the town, and it creepily grinned at him. So obviously his next move was to take out his sword and start chasing it around, trying to whack it, kill it, slice it up. As soon as he got close to the severed head, though, the woman wakes up from a nightmare that she was being chased around by this man. It turns out this severed head spirit is the embodiment of the woman's own obsessions or something like that, and she decides to live on with the spirit by becoming a Buddhist nun to make up for her sins or something like that. That was a horribly bastardized version of the story, but if you look it up online, there's plenty of tellings of it. That's just one example I could think of from Japanese folklore where a person decides to live on with the spirit. Something that wasn't included in the article, though, was Nobata Kugisaki's choice of weapons. The hammer, nails, and voodoo doll comes from one of my favorite Japanese folk tales, which is the Ushi no Toki Mairi, or Shrine Visit at the Hour of the Ox. I did a video about Ushi no Toki Mairi like months ago, but it didn't really get viewed much, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown now. The shrine visit during the Hour of the Ox was one method of cursing someone from Japanese folklore. In this, a scorned woman dressed in white visits the shrine in the middle of the night and hammers a nail through a voodoo doll into the shrine's sacred tree. Usually tied to this voodoo doll is something from the victim, like a strand of hair or a piece of his kimono or something. So the woman keeps coming back night after night and hammering the nail a little bit deeper into the tree through the doll. Eventually, this will make yokai from the spirit world come to the world of the living in the middle of the night and painfully drag the victim back with them to his death. It's called Shrine Visit during the Hour of the Ox because back in old Japanese timekeeping, the Hour of the Ox was considered the latest and darkest hour of the night. The time of night where the border between the world of the living and the spirit world was the thinnest. Yeah, so next time you see Nobata do some cool shit with her hammer, nails, and voodoo dolls, just know that that's a callback to some really cool Japanese folklore shit. One of the biggest things, and I'm surprised a lot of people don't really know about this yet, but the cursed spirit that lives inside Yuji, Ryomin Sukuna, is actually a real demon from Japanese folklore. But not just that, in the Hida province, Ryomin Sukuna is actually seen as a hero and a protector of the people. Everywhere else though, Ryomin Sukuna was seen as an evil demon who disobeyed the imperial court and made many people suffer. This seems a little bit more like the Ryomin Sukuna we all know and love from Jujutsu Kaisen. He was depicted from being anywhere between 3 meters tall to 50 meters tall. He had 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 faces. In 2 of his arms he carried a bow and arrow, and in the other 2 arms he carried 2 long swords. If you're familiar with Buddhism at all, or if you've played From Software or Sekiro, Ryomin Sukuna can also be viewed as Shuda or Asura. Shuda is a person who's abandoned all humanity and kills just because they like killing. There's definitely going to be a video about Shuda and Asura at some point, but right now we're talking about Jujutsu motherfucking Kaisen. So yeah, it actually turns out the tale of Ryomin Sukuna is not just old, it's really fucking old. The first mention of Sukuna is from the Nihon Shoki, or the Tales of Japan, from about 720. This is probably the oldest shit I've ever talked about on this channel. The other curses in Jujutsu Kaisen also remind me of yokai and other folklore spirits, but there isn't as obvious as a connection as Ryomin Sukuna and Ryomin Sukuna. Last on the list of cool folklore shit, there can actually be a connection drawn between the domains that Jujutsu sorcerers use in battle and the interpersonal worlds in Buddhism. So you know the fight scenes where all the characters are trapped in their own little personal domains? That's basically like their own interpersonal worlds like in Buddhism. Obviously, in Buddhism, that's a lot more metaphorical than it is in Jujutsu Kaisen, but it's really cool to see it being used so literally in anime. The anime keeps airing, and as I catch up with the manga, I'm certain I'm going to find more and more folklore and cultural connections. So maybe when Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 comes out, there'll be a part 2 to this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. There's been a lot of setbacks making this video alone, and also I'm just kind of burned out from working retail during a global P word. I'm going to try to keep up the pace from here, though, so expect a video or 2 every week. A few things to keep an eye on that'll be coming out soon. I'm going to do a 1,000 subscribers update video where I'm going to talk about the future of the channel, where I want things to go, and, you know, how much money I'm going to be making from YouTube. Spoiler alert, it's not enough to quit my retail job. There's going to be another katana video where I look at an even older katana than last time. And one thing I'm really excited for is a video about Yudu Camp that I'm hoping to be putting out within the next few weeks as well. Yeah, the rest is just as usual. Follow me on Twitter, link in the description below. Watch one of my other videos here, whatever, description, whatnot. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Gokigen yo!